Donald Trump was acquitted, which means Congress can finally get to work on what they said they were going to do once January 20th happens, and that is pass a stimulus package. We were expecting that we would see a stimulus package by the end of January, maybe early February. Well, the can keeps getting kicked down the road, and now it's important that we talk about timeframes and expectations going forward. Because after all, this stimulus package won't just open the door for stimulus checks, but it'll also provide unemployment relief, which ends on the Ides of March 15th, but it'll also provide funding for more housing and rental assistance, for schools, for the PPP, the EIDL, the SBA, the FAA. I can go on with three-letter acronyms here. The point is, this $1.9 trillion has a lot of places to go. And right now, Congress has nothing else to focus on but stimulus. Now, Congress keeps telling us they can walk and chew gum at the same time, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Instead, I think together we can all say, hey, now we've got Congress no longer distracted. We could pop a beer or whatever you like to drink. Maybe it's sparkling water like Topo Chico. And we could just see when Congress is finally going to deliver us relief. And that's what I plan on outlining right now. So the easiest way to do this is by looking at some calendars. So let's pull up a calendar here. Let's try to understand when we actually expect to see this relief, because at this point, it's not really stimulus anymore. It's relief. So here's the scoop. The House of Representatives and the Senate are pretty much off President's Day week. In other words, the 15th to the 19th, they're pretty much not going to be around. There are going to be some committee hearings, but the entire Congress is not going to be present. They're off for a week. They get a week off. While we're waiting for relief and support from our government, they get another week off. But hey, I guess it's important to celebrate President's Day week. We'll take advantage of that. I know the stock market's going to be closed on Monday, but even the stock market's going to go back to work on Tuesday. But no, Congress needs the whole week off. Anyway, the House of Representatives does plan to hold votes as early as, here we go, the 23rd. This is the current House calendar from Steny Hoyer, the majority leader in the House of Representatives. And what we'll see here is, and we're not going to see much happen here, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. These days are pretty much lost. Instead, those will be dedicated towards minor committee meetings, finalizing some details maybe of the stimulus package, and then we'll expect to see a vote in the House of Representatives on the next stimulus package right here on the 23rd or potentially as late as the 26th. So the last week of February is going to be dedicated to getting votes done by the House of Representatives. Now, don't get excited here yet, unfortunately, because we've got to pass the Senate as well. It's really no different than, yay, the HEROES Act passed, and then it goes to die on Mitch McConnell's desk. Instead, what we really want to focus on is what's going to happen in the Senate. So the House of Representatives for the first 2 weeks of March will actually be doing committee work. So these first 2 weeks, we're going to see committee work over at the House of Representatives. But these 2 weeks are going to be critical for the Senate because the Senate will be fully in session. The Senate has two choices. One choice that the Senate has is within the first 2 weeks here, Chuck Schumer can coordinate with Democrats and make sure that all Democrats are on board with passing the stimulus package the way it is, which would include the $15 minimum wage that would phase in through 2025. And if Schumer gets a verbal okay from everyone, he can verbally agree with Democrats that we are going to vote on this package and we will get this package done without any committee meetings. If this happens, I would expect that the stimulus package could get passed as soon as March 5th, which means the stimulus bill would go to Biden to sign probably sometime between the 8th and the 9th. The bill would get signed, and Congress will actually provide relief before the 15th for those on unemployment. So before the Ides of March and before we fall off another cliff, Congress would actually get their act together and pass something before a cliff. Usually they run past the cliff. Now, that is option one. And in option one, I mean, really requiring basically unanimous consent amongst the Democrats, we could probably see stimulus checks start going out in the last week, right here, around the week of the 29th through the 1st and 2nd of April. That's probably when we could see the first deposits with option number one. Unfortunately, I only give option number one about a 15% chance of happening. The reason for that is because you have people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema who say, hey, $15 minimum wage, which yes, I know is similar to the 15%. I'm double using that 15. You have Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin saying, you know what, $15 minimum wage? No way, Jose. Let's bring this bill to committee. Okay, if they then in the Senate bring the stimulus bill to committee, what happens? Well, basically, kiss these 2 weeks goodbye. Honestly, probably kiss 3 weeks goodbye. Because in committees, Republicans can raise their hands and offer up any kind of amendment they want for any reason. And every single amendment gets a set amount of time to vote and debate. Other way around, since obviously you would debate and then you would vote. But I think you get the idea. And there are a ton of committees. And so every committee has to go through everyone's amendments. They got to debate them. They got to vote on them. Then they're going to have a new bill, potentially. Maybe they'll amend out the $15. They'll have a new bill. This new bill has to then get negotiated by the House again, which if a bunch of amendments are passed in the Senate and the Senate passes the bill amended, then the bill can go back to the House to be cleaned up. The House is going to be doing committee work the first 2 weeks anyway, and they are already planning on voting on the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th again. We even have votes set for the 22nd through the 25th. And this, by the way, is before they go on a recess, which starts on the 26th and doesn't end. Like, they don't go back to work until the 13th of April. They're literally gone for 2.5 weeks. So there's a big 2.5 week recess at the end of March. That's like, oh, we don't want to go past that. But it is possible that if we go through the committee hearings, we're going to miss a week or two of unemployment. The House agrees or makes modifications, negotiates with the Senate. We see the bill end up getting passed sometime between the 18th and the 26th. And that does delay unemployment by about a week or two. So there'd be that gap of about a week or two. We don't have the text yet to say with certainty that gap would be made up. So that way, if you started getting your unemployment again on the 26th or the 2nd of April, that you would be covered for the prior weeks. We don't know that yet. But it is possible that as long as this bill gets passed by the 25th, the last opportunity, if the Senate sends this back to the House with modifications, and the House agrees with them, this bill gets done by the 25th, then we'll probably see stimulus checks arrive sometime around tax day, the 15th or 16th. So my guess is, if I sort of split these odds here, and we say 15% chance, and you know, what do I know? I'm an observer looking, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. 15% chance of us seeing the stimulus checks in March or potentially the first couple days of April. This would be if Chuck Schumer is able to get this bill done without going through committee. If this goes through committees and we get a bunch of amendments, we end up getting the $15 minimum wage removed, and the House ends up having to have another vote on these changes, it's possible it could get done on time. It would have to get voted on the 12th, or maybe they'd vote on the 13th or 14th on the weekend right here. It's possible, but I wouldn't be surprised if the House ends up taking a few more days and we really don't see this bill get passed until, again, that period of time between the 19th and 26th. It's kind of where we stand right now. So again, 15% chance of us seeing this at the end of March. Oh, God. Or potentially the first couple days of April. Probably more like an 85% chance that this really comes the somewhere around the end of the first week. So somewhere around April 9th. That's probably the beginning of the second week there to the 16th, right around there. That's the expectation right now. Now, in terms of overall package size, we're not seeing a lot of movement off the $1.9 trillion. So I know Wall Street's really only pricing in about $1 trillion. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up leading to any kind of pump in the market if this $1.9 trillion package starts looking more realistic. But so far, everything I can tell, Congress is gung-ho about that $1.9 trillion. So we'll see how it goes. I know Republicans aren't, but Democrats have the power right now, especially in this budget recon process. We'll also see if the parliamentarian over in the Senate is even okay with the $15 minimum wage. I wouldn't be surprised, though, at some point, whether it's from parliamentarian or the committees, that the $15 minimum wage ends up disappearing in this round, and we end up seeing it rear its head again, so to speak, over in the infrastructure bill. Anyway, if you found this helpful, consider sharing this video, and folks, we'll see you in the next one.